and their political nature and the appeal, their values. But it's difficult to describe the current situation with the political parties. For example, the harmonious society. What's the meaning of for the political party? It's to, if it is the value of the political party, which radically different from the 20th century political parties. If you look at the communist the party's history, that they argue for the nature of class, the representativeness, and so on and so forth. Obviously, that already changed, and it's became the representative of the whole society. But if the party became the representative of the whole society, which means that became the sovereign organization, which was different from the early political system, but the political organization. So then we found that the party's function within the framework of the state changed. I give the example of the anti-corruption campaign, for example, the discipline committee of the party, which was formalized not only for the party activities, but also actually was the supervision system for the whole official system of the state. So in this way, the role of the political party was changed a lot. So this is how to evaluate, I don't know. But my impression was that it's also related to the global developments. We know that there was a one-party system, multi-party system, or the two-party system, or it's a People's Congress in China, or the parliament in the democratic countries. But generally speaking, the political party, it's undergoing a process of the so-called neutralization of the political party. It's more or less difficult to give the clear distinction between their policies in different political. Each side try to appeal to the more votes rather than their representatives. So that made the democracy. I think it's if we talk about the crisis of democracy, was also talk about the crisis of the political party system, because we know that according to the classical political theory that the different parties represent different conflicts, and they debate each other within the parliamentary framework, eventually reach the consensus. That's the sovereignty. This is the sovereign will. But now it's that each party tries to represent the whole sometimes. That at least there was tendency. Of course, the situation was different in here and in China, but I think it's we need to think about that. Especially when we talk about the political change in China in the future, we have to think about that. What kind of a transformation already happened within the political system, including the party and the state system. Okay.
I want to go back to your discussion on self-reliance.
Yes.
Also, the great divergence between China and other Eastern European countries. You seem to think this is one of the preconditions for China's development and economic success. Just wondering how you consider the 1970s, early 1970s, when China and the U.S. got closer. This strategy of triangulating between China, Soviet Union, and U.S., how that plays into the later so-called stall in China and later economic reform.
Yes.
That's kind of a missing piece there.
Yes.
I enjoyed the talk.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I think it's quite an important question. I try to give the outline. I have no capacity to answer everything in detail because it touches upon different issues. But I just want to remind us some preconditions that we used to forget about that. That's why I single out some the issues. What you mentioned is quite important because, generally speaking, the closer the the change of the relationship between China and America in the early 70s actually was the sequence of the debate between China and Russia. So we know that that started from the late 50s, and then that there was a military conflicts in the end of the 60s between China and Russia too. So which means that the debates between the parties eventually developed into the national conflicts between the two big countries. So that's why after the 1969, China had a mobilization for the preparation for the war. So under that kind of the pressure, China sought to improve its relation to America. At the same time, America was also trying to find a way to combat the Soviet Union. At the same time, I think that for both sides, the change of the relationship between America and China was so significant, because the first of all, before that, the so-called Cold War structure was the polar structure. Mainly America and Soviet Union, two blocks, was military confrontation, was very dangerous. So the China's debate with Soviet Union somehow changed a little bit of that polar structure, because China as a third part was inserted itself into the relationship. That was also the precondition between the change of the relationship between China and America. That's in the first place. And the second, after the end of the 60s, I think China had to do that they strongly feel, I'm not sure whether or not, it's the threatened by the possible war with Russia. So China tried to change the relationship with the America. At the same time, in the American side, I think after the Vietnam War and the anti-war movements, America was also in the political legitimacy crisis. A lot of the younger generation thought that America was, if you look at the 1968 movements, it's really in the legitimate, hegemonic crisis too, in that way. But only after that, the reconciliation between China and America, something happened. Not only, this is only one of the elements for that. And then that, to certain extent, changed a little bit of the Cold War situation in East Asia. So immediately we know that China and Japan improved the relation, eventually formed diplomatic relations, and which means that the Cold War structure transformed. Without that transformation, it was difficult to talk about the opening, so-called opening policy later on. But your question, I think it's important for us to remind us that the China's reform was not simply starting from the end of the 70s, but much earlier. Because it's the whole so-called the project for the four modernized nations raised much earlier, and the relationship with America was changed much earlier. So in this way, that's why I said that maybe we only focus on the 30 years was too much ideological, not historical. So that, I think, it's quite important, the very important event you touched upon. Yeah.
Professor Wen, I have a question for you after your talk, which is, I think that you talk about the preconditions of Chinese success and Chinese reform, which I think that you actually connected the Chinese Revolution with the Chinese reform and consider reform as a continuation of the revolution. And the legacy of the revolution actually enabled the success of the later reform. And I think that right now, today, we are deep into the reform, like 30 years, already 30 years. And then I think that China is gradually losing the legacy of the revolution. And apparently some of the preconditions that you mentioned, they are no longer valid today. So can I ask that, can I understand that what you suggested in your talk is also the end